Hi, everybody. Welcome to today's episode of Leveling Up. Today is going to be Rivkin and Susanna Hurst teaching a class on shield painting and do's and don'ts and how to avoid your epic failures.
Tips and tricks, all that stuff. So thank you, Susanna, for joining me.
Thank
Susanna
you.
is such an amazing artist and just an all around really cool person. So I'm very happy that she's here and she's going to share some of her secrets with us. So
Thank you.
Well, why don't we just start at the beginning? So the thing about painting shields, and I have to confess, I stole my shield prep technique and process from Marquesa Laurelin, who is a fantastic artist. But the real key, and don't skip it, is you never, ever, ever want to paint your shield if it's plastic or metal or wood right on the plastic, metal, or wood. You always want to cover it with canvas. And it's super easy. It doesn't even really matter. You can use any kind of cotton canvas. It doesn't have to be super thick. It doesn't have to be super thin. You can just use spray glue, and you can just spray glue it on and make sure it's flat. And the spray glue will just dry. Do you have a process you use for the spray glue or getting the canvas on?
I've used contact cement. I used to use like a watered down wood glue, but I found that caused a lot of problems with shrinking with the canvas when it dried. So it would end up pulling away and it was a pain. So the contact cement is what I went to, and it's worked great.
The cool thing about contact cement and spray glue is if you get a bubble, you can sort of massage it out with your fingers. It's super easy to do.
Oh, one thing, definitely always iron the canvas too. I thought that I could push the wrinkles out the first time I did it. So I didn't need to iron it, and I could not. And I ended up with like this permanently wrinkly shield. So the extra 5 seconds of ironing make a huge difference too.
And I usually wash my canvas too before I do it, but I don't know if you need to. I just do it because that's habit.
I haven't been, and it's been fine. So
Okay. So you don't even need to wash it. Just make sure it's nice and flat, and then glue it on there. The problem, and I in my mundane life, I know how important. I'm sorry, the cat is being needy. I know how important the why is, and so I'm going to let you know why you don't want to paint directly on the wood or the plastic or the metal. What's going to happen is your paint isn't going to adhere well. It's not going to get. You're not going to get coverage very well, and it's going to peel off, like literally peel off, and it's not going to last. So taking the time to put the canvas on, super important. Okay, so you have the canvas on, and usually you put your canvas on before it's edged, right?
yeah.
So just make sure that you do that. Oh, Jemerson saying wash and iron any canvas. So Jemerson knows. Jemerson is usually Circaz is usually the one that gives me the shields already edged and canvassed.
Nice.
But I have canvassed some of my metal shields, and it works. I don't think as good as wood, but it does the job.
I've canvassed metal shields too, and it's held up.
Yeah, this one's a canvassed metal shield. So what you need to get is some acrylic gesso. You don't have to get a tub this big, but this is your friend. You're going to take this with a big brush, and you're going to paint your shield with it. Let it dry, and then you're going to pull out like a drywall sponge or really fine sandpaper, and you're going to sand it. The first coat of gesso needs to be super thick because your canvas is just going to totally drink it in. So be very, gosh, the cat is so, be very generous with it. And then you sand it, and then you put another layer on, let it dry, sand it, put another layer on, let it dry, sand it. And I usually end up doing about 4 to 5 layers until I get a really nice smooth finish. It's really just a matter of preference. I don't think there's a magic number. But just remember the nicer the finish that you have to draw your device or whatever you're going to put on there, the better your shield's going to hold up in the long run. Do you have anything to add?
Skipped some layers of gesso before, and it ends up like it's been okay. Like my shield looks a little bit bumpier. You can still see the canvas, but then when I go to draw on the design, I end up with these weird ridges. So it's a lot harder to draw and paint after that.
Yeah, that's really
skip.
true. You don't want to be able to see the canvas pattern anymore. And I would show you the shield, but I don't think it's going to come up very well. But it ends up being like almost, it almost looks like a wall, like a non-textured wall in your home. That's the right texture you want with your gesso. So do you want to talk about after gessoing?
Yeah, and I can go back to before. So I use the wooden shields.
Oh yeah.
And I like to sink my bolts in because I don't like to see the bolts on top. So I use these carriage bolts, and this one's too long. You want it just to be just long enough to pop out the other side. But that's the type of head. So I drill a hole where the bolt goes for the shield strap through the shield with a drill bit that's the same width as the bolt shaft. And then I just use one of these, the spade bits that's a little bit bigger than the head, and drill it just down enough that the bolt head is going to sit underneath the edge of the shield, like the face of the shield.
You do that before or after you gesso?
I do that before I even put the canvas on. So it's just in the raw wood. And then I take some epoxy and I just fill in the hole so that the bolt is going nowhere. I've tried other things, and that was the first one that I tried where I also didn't cover it with canvas. I thought that because it's wood, it would be fine. And the paint did hold up well on the wood, but I tried to put wood filler in to hide them because I thought like it wasn't going to get a lot of stress being part of the shield face, but it absolutely did. And I sunk them, I painted, and the first shot that I blocked, all of those bolt hiding spots popped out of the shield and was super ugly. But I haven't had that happen since I have epoxied and then covered everything with the canvas. And then that gives me a nice flat surface to paint on too.
So I'm going to try that because I've never tried that, because usually I get my shield already canvassed.
Mm-hmm.
So for everybody out there, you don't have to sink your bolts in before.
And if you do, you can't move them.
Right, you can't move them. So I think you can see on this, like the bolt is there. Like you can just see the bolt. So you can go right through after you paint and finish with your bolts. I know for me with a heater, like sometimes we have to rehang the heater 2 or 3 times.
Yeah.
And you think it would get really, really ugly and it would be really noticeable, but you really don't notice. So
I've patched over some holes before where I did it or wanted to move them. But this, like the bolts are in here, yeah, and you can't see it at all.
That looks so much prettier.
And then the other side, I just end up with the bolts sticking out, and then I put the strap on and just use a nut with the stop plastic in it.
That's really
and
cool.
every once in a while I have to go back and tighten them, but not often and not a big deal.
I bet that makes it so you don't lose your bolts either. Like,
sorry?
I bet that makes it so you don't lose your bolts while you're fighting.
Yes, I rarely lose a bolt. And I've never had a break or anything.
I was just gonna show this. Like you can see here, my husband hung this for me and I didn't like it. And then those are the holes, and then he redid it. And they really aren't that noticeable.
No, they're not. I couldn't see it all from where you were.
So I just want to emphasize that you shouldn't worry about that too much.
Yeah,
it's not going to make your shield fail later.
And I've done it where I moved these ones and then I just patched over it with a little piece of fabric that I glued on top and then painted over it.
Very cool.
And you can see, but it's not that noticeable either.
Very cool. All right, so that is all about prepping the surface. Do you want to talk about getting your design on?
Sure. I've really only done my own heraldry on mine. So I just map it out with a ruler, and make a little quatrefoil stencil, and just draw it on with a pencil, and then paint it with acrylic paint. And it usually takes a couple of coats to get it looking semi-solid.
So I want to emphasize that if you don't have a device, or even if you do not have to put your device on your shield. You can put anything you want on your shield. You can take artistic license with your device. There's all sorts of things you can put on your shield. Don't feel restrained by not having a device, or having a device that maybe you don't like so much anymore because you picked it 15 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just going to leave the door open for the cat.
I was looking on the manuscript miniatures site today looking for shield examples, and there's a lot of like flowers or swirls or cool designs that have nothing to do with heraldry, but they look fantastic, and most of them don't look very hard to do either. I'm not super artistic, so
yeah, like all of these, none of these are my device. This is sort of my husband's device, but a lot of artistic license. It's more fun for me to paint shields that way. And we'll talk about some techniques to make your shields look even cooler. But I also will make a stencil for myself if it's some kind of, oh, sorry, go ahead.
Casimir has a question. Have you ever tried T-nuts for hardware?
T-nuts. No, because I don't know what it is.
That sounds dirty.
I know.
But I will try it. I'll look them up. I just use the carriage bolts because like my first practice I ever went to, that's what somebody told me to use, and that's what I've used ever since.
So if Kaz can put in the comments why he thinks T-nuts are superior, I would love to hear about it.
Me too.
I think he just wants to hear us say T-nuts a bunch.
Probably. So anyway, I'm going to go back to getting your design on. So you can choose anything you want. Like I haven't finished this shield, but I'm going to take out my camera. I started it a long time ago. Can you see that? And what I was going to do is do the warrior woman on the horse that you always see in all of the silks from the Viking Age, and I just haven't done it yet. But this is freehand drawing.
Nice.
Are you making the bolts her?
I was going to ask about the 3D.
Surprise. That was a happy surprise. But when you have something that's more difficult, I have this cheapy little projectoscope thing that I can project onto the wall. So I will do that. Like I paint Sven's shield a lot, and his lion is difficult. So I will project it onto the wall. I also have a digital projector that I can just plug into my computer, and I project that onto a window, and I'll put up the shield up on the window. So you can project, you can use stencils. You could even probably like take a stamp and stamp it and then detail it out. So there's a lot of ways. You don't have to be an artist for your shield to look cool. Stencils are totally appropriate. And if you use the stencil and then you paint over it and give it detail, it won't look like you just spray painted a stencil on. So.
And there's a lot of good geometric designs too that
definitely
will look really good if you are too scared of fancy things.
Yeah. All right. You want to talk some more about how to make it look extra cool?
Sure.
Or we can talk about what we used to paint it with.
Yes. I just use the cheap acrylics from like Joann's. I don't know what you use, but
I I use anything from like just the basics
Mm-hmm.
to like something I can buy on Amazon, like deco art, to the stuff that I can get, you know, that's a little bit nicer, the Golden or the Daniel Smith. But it's all acrylic. And I usually, because when I'm sitting down to do a shield, it's going to take me a while. I usually put a little bit of this. It's retardant, drying retardant in my acrylic so that it doesn't dry out on me while I'm painting.
That's really good to know.
And this is super cheap. And then brushes. The thing about painting shields, like you want all different sizes of brushes, but if you're gonna go to the next level, you want to make sure you have some super fine detail brushes. The super fine, you can get these pretty cheap on Amazon in a set. You don't need to spend $100 on brushes, but if you don't have what?
How much acrylic does it take to paint one shield?
It really depends on what color it is. If you're using red, you're going to need a whole bunch because red doesn't cover very well. Same with yellow. You found the same thing?
Yeah, I've really only done blue and white.
Okay.
But the blue also takes a fair number of coats to cover. And mine still come out looking kind of mottled, which is also part of why I added the diapering, or a happy accident of the diapering, was it really hides a lot of the inconsistency of the paint. But I'm going to try the drying retardant too, because some of that is it drying and too fast, and so I get these weird blobs.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to cover a lot of ground uniformly rather than have a design that's more broken up.
I don't think I've ever gone through a whole tube.
I don't think I have either. I buy like two of the little bottles, one of white and one of blue, and that usually lasts. Maybe two of the blue.
I would say if like this shield, this really dark green, that was probably 6 coats so that it wouldn't be see-through anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So I just keep doing it. I really like the shields not to have that modeling effect. I like it to look rich. So I use lots and lots of coats.
Me too, though once I found that I could hide a lot of the modeling when I did the diapering, I went from like 5 or 6 coats down to 3, maybe 4, just because it doesn't look modeled at all once I add all that extra detail work.
And a trick, if you're going to use metallics, is that you can use like a raw sienna first and paint it all like the raw sienna, and then put your gold over it, and you'll get much better coverage. Don't try to cover with a metallic first. With silver, I usually, if I want a dark silver, I'll do like a gray underneath. If I want a light, I'll do a white first. But it gives you a much better depth with the metallics if you have a good base coat under it.
Awesome.
So,
Susanna, do you want to show your pictures and show what
Sure.
happened?
Okay. Let's see. So, can you see the?
It's just the small pictures.
Okay, sorry.
Make it big again.
Did that work?
Perfect.
yes.
Okay, so this was the first one that I did where I didn't cover it with canvas, and the bolt holes, just everything covering them popped immediately out. But the paint did hold up. So if you don't care about your bolts showing, you don't have to canvas cover the wood. Though I still have gotten a nicer finish with it because it does kind of crackle on the wood after time. And then this is just from fighting. But if I can see, does it scroll through? No. Cool. No. Oh,
What's that?
let's just cover that.
It doesn't scroll. You can't use the arrows?
No, I can't. Okay.
Click on, oh, no.
I'll just share each one individually.
Okay.
So it'll be ridiculous. I apologize. So this was, I think this is like 5 or 6 coats of the blue, and you can see, especially where I tried to like go back in around the quatrefoils, and like I did the big swaths of it and then came back, and it just never was looking even. And
I think you can scroll if you can make the arrows show up again, and I'm pointing at the screen like you can see me.
oh, there we go. Okay, I don't know what happened. Okay, but we're there. Thank you. Clicking wildly worked. But then I added so I started with the diapering, and it first of all makes it look have a lot more depth to it, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Like from far away you can't see it, but once you get close, it still has that depth that is missing with just the flat design, which, because mine doesn't have any other detail, it really kind of needs. And this is just the white, and it already adds a lot, in my opinion.
Silver on top of the white for that diapering?
Did what? Sorry?
Is that a silver paint on top of the white for that?
Yeah, so I cheat and I use these Sharpie metallic and blue paint pens for the diapering.
Oh, I love those.
And you just have to be careful to let them dry, because they take a little while to dry, and it's easy to swipe your hand through it. Or I found out before I put the final clear coat on, if I don't let it dry, all of the shiny goes away once I add that clear coat. But if I let it dry, it's fine. So I just basically take a flexible ruler. This is a flexible quilt ruler that's see-through. So I lay out my first line for the diapering, like horizontal and vertical, or if I'm doing diagonal, whatever that first line is. And then I can just take the pen and go down the side of the ruler on the shield, like right here, and then move it up to match up with one of the other like lines on the ruler. And I just decide how far I want that to be, do the next one. So it really doesn't take that long to lay out all of the lines and then go back in. The detail takes a little bit extra, but it doesn't have to be perfect, because again, there's so much of it, it doesn't matter. It's really about the overall effect more than the super precise.
Is that a flexible ruler?
Yes, it's a flexible quilting ruler.
Yeah, those are awesome for
they are. So it goes around the curve of the shield, so I always get a flat or a straight line. And then this is
those. They're very helpful.
They are super helpful. This is it with all of the extra detail added so I do all of this before I add the edging. And that way I also can kind of test things out on the corners before, because I know that all of these are going to be, all the edges are going to be covered. So I kind of test my design out up here and what the pen is doing, and then I can go in on the full shield.
Yeah, and just look how much depth you got from the first one to this one just with the diapering. It's phenomenal. And I know that looks really detailed and that it took a really long time, but I bet it didn't take as long as it looks.
It really doesn't. I just put on a show and watch a couple episodes and call it good. The painting takes longer for me. Even though the painting looks simple, it's just more time consuming. And it's kind of fun and meditative. So, and there's a lot of different examples. I go on the Manuscript Miniatures website quite a bit, and I just go through and save anything, because they have a lot of, it's how they covered ground in the manuscripts. And now that I've done this, I kind of wonder if part of it is to hide the modeling that happens with big swaths of single color, because it's really effective at that, because this is the same shield, like it's all weird looking, and then I didn't add any extra coats after that to get to this point.
Just totally camouflaged it for you.
Yeah. And so I just save good background images of the diapering from there, and there's also a bunch of Pinterest pages people have saved, and I pick the ones that look easy to do for myself without too much extra effort. Like there's a lot that are like all these cool florals and scrolly things, which would be super cool, but I don't quite have that artistic skill to just freehand that. So I stick to the geometric.
Yeah,
Oh yeah, and this is just showing the ruler with the lining up the lines.
So one of the really cool things that Suzanne's doing with her diapering is she's using sort of a tone on tone. And that for me, I found is like one of the best things you can do on your shield to give it depth and to take it to the next level is to do some tone on tone work. And all you have to do is take out the main color that you are using and then put a little dab of white next to it. And then you can come up with a whole bunch of different shades of blue or whatever. For me, it's usually orange. And you can do a whole bunch of different things with tone on tone. And it really does. It just really elevates the shield. It no longer looks flat. And it's super easy to do.
It is really easy. And the silver looks really nice in the sun. So
yeah. Let me show, like, I guess on this, I have a lot of tone on tone work on this. If you look at my dog, can you see that? She's got tone on tone work in the orange, and then in the green and the lions also have tone on tone work.
That's really pretty.
And then the blue has tone on tone work. So I just absolutely love it. And you can see here that the only part of my device on the shield is this lion down here. Everything else is just stuff that I like, or it alludes to the person I fight for, or my husband, or my daughter. Or my lion. I mean, there's a lot of symbolism in this shield. And I went ahead and I put on a couple of sayings too, which is kind of cool and fun too. So you can do whatever you want. I showed this one too, because it turned out, this is my Wonder Woman shield. Let's see.
That's so cool.
So can you see the tone on tone in here? Yeah.
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah, so there's a whole bunch of tone on tone, like light blue and silver stars behind the big stars. And then down here, there's a whole bunch of swirlies behind the eagle.
And the eagle has the best Chucky chicken legs ever. I love them.
Yes. I did not paint that one, but that one has a lot of tone on tone work too. What did I want to show? I can't remember. So anyway, you can do pretty much anything you want. Like this one, I put that what is it Roosevelt saying about the arena? That's the whole arena.
That's really cool. I love that.
Lion. So so you can do almost anything you want, and just putting that behind it gave me a lot more depth. So, oh yeah, this is what I want to show. So my friend Laurelyn made this for me, and it's gorgeous, right? Like she's an artist. But what I did is I took some fake gold leaf and I gold leafed the rawhide, and it comes off, but it looks so great.
That's really pretty.
You can also take your rawhide to a different level, and I've seen people paint it.
I've soaked mine in Rit dye.
Rit dye?
Yeah.
That's cool.
So it's just rawhide and soaked in Rit dye, which Bane does for his swords, and we tried it for the blue. He'd only done black. And his he leaves in overnight because it's black and who cares, and it really sinks in and turns it black all the way through. With the blue, it will turn black if I let it sit too long, so I end up with a surface color, but it doesn't come off either.
And just if you're getting your shield like I do with the rawhide already on it before you've gessoed, you can put the gesso all the way to the rawhide. It'll make the rawhide a little whiter, but it doesn't matter if you splash onto the rawhide, because you can take it off later or you can make it blend. So don't worry about that. You don't have to be pretty, like all perfect with your gesso. So I know somebody, go ahead.
Any tips for a round shield with a boss in the center?
I've done a lot of round shields. I did the Kingdom round shield, and I just pretend the hole isn't there, and I put the line through it. I mean, you can see the one behind her. I didn't do that one, somebody else did, but they just pretended the hole wasn't there, and the boss is black, and it just sort of goes into the lion. What other things that look really cool on round shields is if you quarter it and you repeat stuff. A whole bunch of knot work looks good on a round shield. If you can curve, like you design curves with the curves, that looks cool. I should have pulled some pictures up because I did some diapering like Susanna for my friend Kaz, but I took one of those the garnet. What are those? Those garnet things from the Sutton Hoo. And I made his shield look like it was made out of garnets and filigree gold, and the whole back is diapered in like gold swirls and dots, and so that it looks like metal. And so you can just do some really super cool things. So
Duke Aaron from Atenvelt painted this shield. Is reminding me, so that's who did that one. And when you're done, do you somebody's asking, do you varnish on top?
This Minwax polyacrylic matte finish. So I put a coat of this on, I let it dry, I put another coat, let it dry, and then I take out my mudding sponge again, and I very, very lightly sand the varnish to get the bubbles out. And then I put on another coat of varnish, and then I might do that one more time. And the cool thing about the varnish is not only does it keep your paint looking nice and it helps your shield not to rip, but you can take a magic eraser and go over your shield and get all of this stuff off without smudging the paint, and then revarnish it and it looks new again. So I've done that. Oh my God, I think the cat, sorry. She left me a present. Anyway, so it's super cool, and you can just, you don't even have to worry about ruining your paint job. You just take it off and then you put the varnish back on, and it's beautiful. And the varnish does crack over time. Like you can see cracking. Hopefully you can see it in this corner. Can you see that?
Nope.
No. It cracks, but it's not a big deal.
Oh, now you can see it.
Now you can see it? Okay, so there's cracking. But the paint integrity is still there. And if I went over it with a magic eraser and then varnish again, it would look great. And this shield is probably 4 or 5 years old. And I think this is the only tear it has. And you can fix those with some gesso and repainting over them and revarnishing. So, yes, varnish, varnish, varnish. There's nothing that sucks more than taking your shield out there and having somebody hit it and rip it the first time out. So varnish is your friend.
Woohoo!
That's what I get for having like 7 shields behind me. Anyway. Okay. Is there anything else you want to talk about?
I stole my finishing and most of my prep from you, so I do exactly the same thing.
Susanna, do you want to show some of the pictures of period painted shields that you have?
Yeah. Yes, I do, if I remember how again. Oh, this isn't a period one. This is one that my friend Alexander Clark, he lives in the East, is working on. He hasn't finished it yet. But I wanted to show it because it's gorgeous, and he has a much bigger scale of the diapering, and it still works really well.
How do you get that raised effect?
I don't remember what he did. He's doing this all like historical style, so I think it's leather, but I could be wrong. I'd have to find out. And he's using real gold leaf. But the look of the shield is really good, and yeah. Let's see if I can go to the there we go. Okay, so that one's mine. Oh, here's one that so this is a historical one, and it's got like raised diapering patterns in the back. But again, it's sort of, I mean, it's hard to tell because the paint's really degraded, but it's tone on tone, it looks like. Ugh. I don't know how to work my computer. Oh, here we go. Okay, I was just at the end. This is another one. I think this is, I can't see the, oh yeah, 1450 Italian. And again, they did like a raised underneath, but you could do that with another gold, like gold with a lighter gold or a darker gold to get that same effect. And again, they've got, there are plenty that don't have diapering in them. I was focused on the diapering because that's what I did. But it just adds that extra depth and dimension. So this one's 1300 German. And it is a little bit of a bigger scale than what I did, but still really effective. And that's that one again. And it's got two different kinds, one up here, and then it's got the swirls down here, which I do love. Yeah, and that's all the ones I saved. So that one's mine again.
I could probably share some of mine. I think I pulled up my album, so let me do that too, just so you guys can have an idea.
Morgan would like to know if you would post a materials list, required materials and optional materials.
I would love to do that for you. I will do that. So I'm just like, this is my album of some of the shields I've done in the past. So you can see like this one's not edged, it's canvassed and gessoed. It's closer, and all of the gold, before I put the gold on, I put the raw sienna on, so I got a nice finish there.
So commenter says leather is tacked down and then gessoed over for the dimensional effect.
There you go. Thank you. And then see, so this one's an oval, not a round, but I sort of took where the boss is going to go and I made it a design element. That's one of the ways I deal with bosses. This one, I did tone on tone in the background. Thunder crosses, they aren't, yeah. So, and I like to always outline things because I think it makes the shield look neater. Mm-hmm. So I'll outline the black and silver. I'll outline the yellow in like a copper.
I do too, because it just makes it look finished and better.
What finish acrylic do you use?
Matte
finish.
Yeah, this one says clear satin. That works. Protective finish, clear satin. And use the polyacrylic you can use liberally as well. It will tell you where it wants to go. It's very thin, but you can always brush it out. If you have sort of drip marks, you can brush them out before it dries and it'll look fine. This is another one where I use diapering in the back. This is drying from a clear coat. You can see it's really shiny. And this is based on an extant shield or an extant manuscript. That was for my daughter. Kids got to have shields too. So that's the same shield with the varnish dry. And I diapered everywhere.
It's really pretty.
Yeah, so it just gives it a depth. Yeah, so that's the same one. Am I already? No. Okay, so this is a little mini shield I did for my friend Bernadette. That's her device.
That's for the lists, right? A list shield?
Yeah, that's a list shield. Same process with those little wooden list shields you get. I actually don't canvas them, but I do gesso them. They don't need to be canvassed because they're not going to take a beating. But yeah, you just gesso them and do the same thing and varnish them after. This was for somebody who loved ponies, and I actually used glitter on this one. You can do that. This was for myself. Nothing to do with my device, just something that was meaningful to me after my mom died. So you really can do, almost anything you want. There's another one of my shields. You can see the green diapering on the green. Those are my thunder. I guess they're actually sun. They're Norse suns. So And then there's, meaningful things in the corner that I just did. And I think one of the funnest things about doing shields is being able to be really creative with your design elements and put them wherever you want. Like this one has my lion, but nothing else. I mean, those are my black suns, but they don't look like black suns, right? They're Norse black suns. So I just sort of did something. But be creative. This is my little pony shield for me. And that's just funny. So sometimes you guys gotta have fun. And these are a whole bunch of little tourney shields I did. Same thing. There's the Wonder Woman shield. You can see the diapering better in the picture.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so I actually, what I did for the red diapering there is I actually mixed red and gold together so it would shimmer, but it wouldn't be gold. So just be creative and see what you get out of it. That's my husband's shield. Again, I used the boss as a design element. This is actually based on an extant Roman shield. The white work is all based on an extant Roman shield. And it's kind of fun to go and look at shields, like old shields, and find things. This was a scroll I did for Count Saverick when he was a count, because he's a duke now, so I should say Duke Saverick. And it was based on silk brocade. I just decided to make the black look like a silk brocade. And
I love all the detail in the boxes.
Yeah, so I took like a silver and a black together to make a really dark silver on the black.
Is this his county scroll?
Yeah, that's his county scroll.
Really cool. It even has a seal on it. Did you paint the seal?
I painted the seal.
Wow.
Yeah. So this is a shield I did for Kaz to give to his knight, Dave Demers. And the octopuses are Dave's wife's device. And the double-headed eagle is his device. And then the pyramid-y things are something I got from some Norse embroidery. And all of the gold is diapered, if you can see it.
When you do yours, how do you lay out the diapering?
So I will take my flexi ruler and I will just make dots where I want, like, so all of the octopuses, I'll make a dot where an octopus is going to go, and all of that is done freehand.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I might have gridded the gold. I honestly can't remember. It probably did, because it looks like the triangles are the same size, or I mean the diamonds. So, but you don't need to use a pencil. Like sometimes you can just like put a dot, and then you'll know where the stuff's gonna go. This is a shield I did for Kith. I'm not very good at painting people, so he gave me a lot of latitude, and it turned out okay. So, and you can see all the diapering in the back, green on green. This is the one I did for the kingdom. I basically stretched the lion out so that when the boss goes on, you can't really tell it's stretched out anymore, but you got more detail from the lion, and that was important to me. So, and you can see the lion, all the detail is tone on tone. And, you know, from far away, you're not going to be able to see the tone on tone as well, but it looks super cool close up.
And I think it does give it extra dimension even from far away, even if you can't see the details.
Yeah.
Somehow.
So that's just detail of the other one I did for myself. So, I mean, you really can put whatever you want. This is something I did for my consort fighter. The top corner, the top left corner is his knight's device. The next top corner is some sort of his device, but I took artistic license. Underneath him is his wife's device. And then the checky was for his lion. So, I mean, there's lots of things you can do, and quartering a shield is totally period. And it's kind of nice to, for at least I think it's really nice to put something of your inspiration on your shield. because really that's who we're supposed to be fighting for, right? So I know some people, oh, here's the one I did for Kaz.
Wow.
So it looks like a Sutton Hoo brooch, right? And I did all the gold on gold in the back.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it took a really long time, but it was worth it. And then this is a shield I'm doing for my Grand Knight to show his lineage. It's in process. So another picture of that shield. So really, like, I mean, everybody has seen those lines before. That's on a brocade. And then the heart shape is a period shape. So I find like I'll get like Russian or Viking, some of those Dover design books. And I just look through them, and there's a whole bunch of really cool ones where you can take things off of mosaics, off of trim, whatever. And I go through them and I put stickies on things I like, and then I will take them out and I'll combine them. So I really like to do that kind of thing, looking through books and looking for cool designs, and then putting them together. I think it's super fun. And then my shield looks great. So, or whoever I'm making for. This is another one for my fighter. That actually is his device. I added the crowns for all the crowns he's won, and then I put a checky bar up top for his lion, and then I just like the two lines facing each other is sort of a period ducal motif. So I put that on top because I liked it, and it's his lion and the Ontier lion, and then I don't remember what the saying says. It probably says sweep the leg, but and then and on the chain, you can't really see it. Well, maybe, yeah. So I did his whole lineage on the chain. So
Oh, wow.
he's the bottom here, and it's his name and then his knighting date, and then his knight's name and knighting date, and then his knight's name and knighting date, and then all of his squires that have been knighted are on these. So there's a lot of really cool things you can do, like meaningful things. And then this is a round shield I did for Sir Otar. And he wanted to acknowledge all the people who inspire him. So every device there is somebody that inspires him, and then they all have the chivalric virtues associated with them. So that's probably it. Let's see. I feel like I'm probably boring you guys. Yeah.
Not at all. They're gorgeous.
Nobody's bored.
The point is you can be super creative. And I honestly like never considered myself a painter. When I first started the SCA, somebody else painted my little shield tile and my shields because that was not a skill set I had. And then I just decided to try it. And the more you do something, the better you get at it. So I just really encourage everyone to just give it a go. Like, you might not think you're an artist, but there's so many like cool little techniques you can do to make your stuff look really cool that like really nobody needs to be out there with just a spray painted shield.
I'm not an artist and I don't have the freehand drawing skills, but as long as I stick to geometric stuff, I am solid, and that's easy because you can always find something circular and trace it and just draw a box or whatever.
So I'm gonna call you out, Susanna. You're totally an artist. You may not have drawing skills, but you're an artist.
But Misty's right. I've been drawing more and I'm getting better at drawing. So, but I definitely never had those skills, but I can still do a pretty shield even without fancy drawing skills. Though I like the idea of the projector. That will definitely make things a lot easier.
And, you know, projectors aren't very expensive anymore at all. So, yeah. And this one, the projectoscope one, I think I got this from Dharma Trading, and it wasn't very expensive. But, you know, now that I have the digital one, I don't really use it all that often. But that's like, what do you call it? You can just put a picture in there. It doesn't have to be a transparency or anything.
Nice.
So yeah.
Super cool. I have an old overhead projector from a school.
Well, I think that's cool.
Yeah.
So, does anyone have any questions? Did we answer all the questions? I will. I have the process that we all stole from Laurel, and I have it written down. And so I will post that well, probably both in the comments and maybe in the file section of the page. So ingredients and then the processes steps.
The only other like procedural comment, Kaz suggested that painter's tape over the rawhide or the boss area would be a good way to address overpainting with the gesso.
There you go. So I'll probably do that next time. I'll do that, and I'll have my husband sink my bolts.
Ooh.
Andrew Lowey says, and attachment, and I'm not really sure what that means.
Do you mean strapping the shield? Because we sort of talked about that at the beginning. My husband just goes straight through what I've already done, and it looks fine. It looks even better the way Susanna does it. She sinks her bolts.
Yeah, I just then bolt the straps on like this. So that's the bolt that goes through, and I just have leather straps. I put a little washer so it doesn't bite through the strap. And then, yeah, so that's I do a leather hand cover, which is now flopping because I'm taking this off and changing. So I took the bolts out here. I usually have 2 extra bolts here for the leather hand.
He wants
protection.
to know, Susanna, how you attach your edge.
I soak the rawhide, or soak the rawhide, and then I measure it into the width of the circle and sew it together, and then I put it over while it's wet and clamp it down, and it takes like as many clamps as you possibly have. If you can just cover the whole thing in clamps, that's the best. If you don't have enough clamps, then I kind of sometimes will come in and move them from a spot that's pretty solid to a spot that is popping up a little bit. Though I have been collecting clamps for years now. And then once it's dry, I just drill through. I don't know if you can see. It's black. Drill through the rawhide, and then the whole thing, the rawhide in the front, the rawhide in the back, and the shield itself, and then just lace it through with this is the super thin like paracord stuff. I've used the leather, waxed leather stuff, but that doesn't hold up. So this, I just do it and melt it together, and it still does come apart. But
so I'm having Sir Casimir on in July, and he is like the god of rawhiding shields, and
that would be awesome.
Yeah, and putting wooden shields together.
I am not the god of rawhide.
Yeah, he's going to do a whole episode on it. His edges look beautiful. This is one of his edges. They're just really nice. I think he uses fake sinew to put the rawhide on, but you can buy rawhide by the sheet, and then you just get like a leather strip cutter, like a belt cutter, and you can just strip it into strips. We have a whole bunch of just rawhide strips laying around our house for doing.
You don't soak dog bones and until they fall apart and use those?
Nope.
I tried that once because somebody said it was cheap, and it was miserable, and I didn't get any good rawhide out of it.
Yeah.
And it was all different thicknesses too. So what happened was like it dried in some places, but not in others. And so it was just really terrible.
Yeah.
So where do you source your rawhide?
I think you can buy it online. I think we maybe got our last probably a half hide from Oregon Leather, maybe. But there's a whole bunch of, you could just Google it, and there's a whole bunch of leather stores online that'll ship you rawhide. They'll put it in what am I saying? They put it in a tube, and you get a long tube at your door, and there you are. So
I get mine from Tandy.
Weaver leather.
Every so often they run a sale and we just stock up and
Sir Kaz says Weaver leather. So
oh,
yeah. So yeah, so we'll put that together. Thanks everyone for watching us. I hope that you all have really good experiences with fancifying your shields, and we would love it if you dropped pictures on the sisters interview page of your shields after you do them. I would love to see that.
me too.
So, anyway, if there's no more questions, thank you so much, Susanna. I really
Thank
appreciate
you.
you being on. And now that I have you here, will you also come on and sort of teach like a metal embossing sort of thing,
Yes.
maybe, or maybe some fighting clothes?
I can do either or both.
Okay. Well,
I did one metal embossing class for close friends, which went well. So maybe I can talk to more people.
All right, cool. Susanna, for those of you who aren't friends with Susanna on Facebook, she's doing some amazing work right now with embossing like foil, really, right?
Yeah, it's
making Scythian hats.
And you have your vaccinated pin on your hat.
I do.
Show that off.
There we go.
So
Yeah.
those are, she's selling those on her Etsy site, and they're super cool. So if you're looking for something like that, hit her up.
Thank you. And I've been making other stuff too because I'm having a lot of fun with the metal work.
Very cool.
Well, thank you everyone, and that's it.
And thank you.
All right. Bye-bye.